Okay, if everybody can get seated when we get started. Thanks for welcoming. I want everybody to know first we are going to record this session tonight so that we can show it to others who weren't able to attend. And again, I wanted to welcome everybody. I thought it would be good to get the design team, the engineers, the consultants we've been working with for the last 10 or 12 years on this project. It's been a long haul. We're ready to start. We've awarded the first part of the bid, and they'll explain what that entails, and then we'll award the second part of the bid later. But just to let you know who's here, we have Tom Barrett. Barton and Laguitas has been our engineering firm on this. And with us we have Tom Barrett, the project manager. And Tom, when I first met him, because I lived on the intersection, he come to talk to me about it, he had kids in Little League. And those same kids that were in Little League now have his grandchildren. So he's been on this thing a long time. It is true. Peter Cristiano is the design engineer. Dan Goslin's the construction manager. And Bob Party is the resident engineer. With us also tonight in the town, we have Rich Klotz, who's the highway superintendent. And for the town board, Lenny Moody and Mike Guerrero are running around somewhere. The fire chief is here also. Look, this is a big project, and I don't want to kid anybody, and I think we ought to all be fortunate that the federal and state have agreed to pump $7 million into a town road project, because the majority of it is town roads. It's Tillson and Tox. All right, there's a section of the state road too, but I think for a small community like the town of Lloyd to get $7 million in funding to do a highway project is pretty significant. And I know the outcome of it will be great, but I'll be the first one to say we're all going to be inconvenienced a lot during that period. So we all need to be prepared for it. One of the reasons I wanted to get us all together tonight to talk about it, people are going to be rerouted traffic-wise. School buses are going to be rerouted, deliveries might have to be rerouted, postal stuff, etc. And I thought it would be good if we got everybody here tonight together, let these guys explain the project. You can ask them questions you want to do, and I would ask you all to, first of all, and I know you all are, but to be professional about it. Ask your questions. If you have something that's personal in nature that you'd want to discuss with one of these gentlemen, myself, or whoever, then let's do that instead of tying the whole crowd up with the one problem. I think that would be the right way to move forward. And our contractor on this, I don't know if he's showing up tonight or not.
He's on his way.
He's on his way. He'll be showing up. Ed Calaruso and Son is the contractor, and David Laspada will be showing up from their group. So instead of me talking to you all night, because you're here to get information, I'm going to turn it over to Peter Cristiano, and Peter will take the lead in pulling up whoever he needs.
Thank you. So I guess to reiterate what Dave said, thanks for being so patient during this whole process. I know it's been a long haul, and we're finally here. So I just want to run through kind of the timeline of where things have gone and where we're at now. And so obviously this project has been going on for a while. We did the bid opening in March 15th, and since then we've done our analysis, and we put together a package of recommendation based on the funding amount and where all of that has fallen, and we provided that to the DOT, and they've concurred with our recommendation. The town has concurred with that, and we've got award concurrence from DOT. Currently, we're working on the contracts with the contractor. Those were just sent out last week, so they were putting together their insurance and signing paperwork on their end. The town will then sign on their side, so that way we have a contract in place and the contractor can actually go out and start to work. After that, we're going to work with the town and our contractor about setting up the field office. Exactly where that's going to be, our resident engineer, Bob, will work with the contractor on that. We're going to try to have it as close to the site as possible. So we'll have a phone there for people to call. There'll be an answer machine, so if you don't happen to stop by the site when work is going on, you can always call that number and leave a message to Bob. Dan Goslin's our construction manager, and I think he left some cards in the back room as well, so you can grab that, you can call him. Tom and myself have been involved with this project for the last 12 years or so. We're still going to be here, and you can always reach out to us as well, but I think for the most part, we're going to have questions directed towards Bob and Dan, and then if there's something that they need to pass on to Tom and myself, we'll be available to answer any questions. In addition to setting up the field office, the contractor is going to provide us with submittals, basically what materials they're going to use, and pipe and concrete and stone and all that. So that's going to be the next step. And then from there, we're going to have our pre-con meeting with the contractor. So basically, the DOT will be there, the town, the engineering team, the construction management team. We'll kind of go over the plan of everything involved, including any shutdowns or work zone traffic control with potential detours. And that'll basically kick the project off officially with construction. We're looking at construction beginning this summer. So we don't have an exact timeline at the moment because it's all going to be dependent on materials and the labor of the contractor, and they're still working on all of that. Currently, they're not going to go full steam ahead until they have their contract signed, but they're planning that stuff behind the scenes right now. And once that's set up, we'll have a better idea when exactly they're going to get a shovel in the ground. Dave Espada from A. Calaruso and Son, he just arrived. He's going to be the representative from Calaruso here right now. So after that, I'll pull up on the screen basically the general aerial view of the site. You can kind of see what we proposed or what's planned, and then we can answer questions that you may have, and basically just kind of open it up at that point.
And see what it looks like, just in case anybody's forgotten.
Right, we've had public information meetings, as I'm sure you remember, but I think the last one was in 2014, so it's been a while. So I guess with that, I'll walk back. I'll pull the screen up with the aerial view, and maybe I'll kind of stand back there so that way I can move the screen. Dan and Tom and myself can kind of field some questions, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit about the delay. I know the trees were cut a while ago, poles were removed. During that, right after that time period, we intended to go right out to bid, and some of that work was done because there's a limited time of year you can cut trees down. You can't do it just any old time now, especially under a federal aid project. There's very strict rules. We have state rules and federal rules to follow, and all the environmental things that could possibly come with it. Anything you can think of, it's all included. So that was done. Utilities, sometimes they tell you they're going to do it in 6 months, and then it's 9 months, it's still not done. So when they said we're going to get right out there and do it, we can go ahead and do it. But then some of the environmental regulations changed, and we had to revisit all the potential endangered species, plants, potential of sturgeon coming up the Twaskill. That was a comment. We had to investigate and prove that they weren't doing that. And I don't know if you know what a sturgeon is, but it's a prehistoric fish. And if I saw one at the Twaskill, I wouldn't be here today. So those are the kinds of things that added to the delay. And then we had this large price increase on everything, and COVID hit, and nothing was getting done in the agencies. It's the Federal Highway Administration and New York State DOT. Everybody was home, we were all nervous, we all were for a very long time about what this could be. That put another delay into the project. And then the funding was held back because they didn't know what funding would have to be used for. Who knows? I remember we all had these thoughts about contamination zones, moving out of cities, and these things were real. And a lot of the money was delayed of being allocated and committed because of all of that uncertainty. We're working with the Ashokan Reservoir Sentry project. It was delayed 2 years. It's $1 billion project because of COVID. That's just, things like that happen. So that's how we're here today, not 2 years ago. So we certainly apologize for that happening, but it was just a matter of all these combination of factors. So we finally got here, and we're going to continue on. The number of you had strips of land and pieces of your property acquired through the project. You were paid, you were given checks. Really appreciate all that cooperation and getting that done back then. Some of you have drawings that came from me, and we sat down and we spoke, and there's sketches and things that we're going to do. They're all going to get done just like we said they would. Right, so none of that has changed. There's hooking a sump pump up to the the drainage system, extending a driveway a few more feet because it's pothole, things like that. Retaining wall, the one property's retaining wall is a lot worse than it was a few years ago, and we're going to fix that now as part of the project. That's not in the plans right now, but I saw it, I looked at it again on the way here, and I think the work on the road's going to have an impact on that wall. So there's some changes. Some of you will be approached to sign what's called a grading release. That may allow us to go a little bit further on the property. If we're doing your driveway and we're ending it here, but you got a pothole just beyond it, and the papers that you signed a few years ago only say you can go this far, we'll need a grading release to go another 10 feet to make it nice a little bit further and make a nice clean cut. So those types of things you may get approached with. And that'll come in the months after we get started. So we want to make this as easy as we can for everybody and fulfill the things that we all talked about many years ago. So we also were very limited at that time in the right-of-way process. Now, the right-of-way process is extremely strict. We're not allowed to talk to you about price. I know when we talked to some of you the first time, well, what's the settlement? What are we going to get for a check pass? We can't talk about that because the rule says we can't. If we do, we're in violation of those right-of-way process, and the Federal Highway Administration doesn't like that, and they spank you for it, basically. It hurts the towns. If they get a black mark on that for violating the right-of-way process, they get a little bit of a black mark on them, and it's hard to get funding for the next project. So all of these things compile up. So there's been nothing out there that's been done intentionally or anything like that. It's all in the interest of maintaining the whole project, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that you're inconvenienced the least amount as possible. But as Supervisor said, there's going to be alternating one-way traffic, flaggers. We're thinking about a detour for 2 weeks, or one-way traffic and inconvenience for 8 weeks. Sometimes you got to make the decision. Do we go around for a couple weeks, they can get it done real quick, or do we drag through waiting in a line and more dust for a longer period of time? Those are some of the things that we have to talk about. And Dave's plan, we have a work zone traffic control plan that's in our plans, but many times a contractor has another idea, has certain equipment, certain staff, signs, things like that, that they can do it a different way. And we entertain that all the time, so we try to make it least amount possible. Of course, they want to do it as quick as possible. We want to get it done as quick as possible, so we're open to whatever ingenuity or other things that they may have. I don't think I've ever been on a project where there has been some modification of those traffic control plans to fit the contractor. We can't tell them exactly what to do, and that violates the bidding process. So that's where there's a lot of working together. Right? So that's a cooperation for everybody. Plants, we have some, people want maybe some plants to be saved, or some landscaping items. We'll talk about them. That'll go to Bob. Initially, it should be pretty reasonable to do, and then if there's another discussion that is required, I might get involved. Dan here is the construction manager who will be working directly with Bob most of the time, but Pete and I will always be in the background for this project. I think I told some of you I'll be here till this is done. And some of you probably thought, yeah, right, but it's been 12 years and I'm still here, and I don't know if maybe I should retire another month, but Anyway, thank you for all the cooperation and patience over the time period. It was very difficult. We wanted a roundabout, and we wanted a traffic signal. We fought with DOT for 4 or 5 years on trying to get what we still think should be there. Not happening, didn't happen, we tried, we really tried. Paul Hansit, rest in peace, he really gave it his all to try to get that roundabout and then the traffic signal. So, Dave was involved in it early on in the beginning too, and we really tried, and that was also part of the delay. But sometimes it doesn't work out. A lot of times you can't get exactly what you need, because primarily it's a state road, and the state doesn't want it on 55. So that's where we are today. But we are allowing room for a potential traffic signal in the future if enough traffic bills were to satisfy a few more criteria for DOT, and maybe we can get funding to put one in eventually. So what we want to do is not make it so it's designed out of the project. So we want to make sure it's there. So with that, Pete, you want to put the plans up?
Yeah, here real quick, pull that up.
Does anybody not remember what it looks like?
No, you're fine.
So, some of the things we have, one family, we're going to have a drop curb so they can get a car on their lawn to park, with some of the conversations that we had.
So this is what we have right now. This is what was in, what was planned the whole time, and I can zoom into certain areas. It'll make it a little clearer. Obviously, it's harder to see from back here, but I guess we can kind of open it up, maybe to some questions or just dialogue if anyone wants.
What's green?
Green is grass. It's basically where our cut and fill lines are, to show roughly where the limits of work are planning to be, and that'll be reestablished with grass. They don't have all of the planting shown with trees and whatnot, because some of those areas are going to be specific to whatever the agreement we had with the property owner.
So does that mean that area is being removed from the road that's in green?
Removed from the road?
Like what, I'm looking at an overhead of my house when you zoom down, and I see green there. What is happening to that part of my property that's in green? That's my basic question. Like, is that being moved back for road? Is it being affected by this construction?
That would be affected by the construction, yes.
Okay.
So it'll be disturbed during construction. It'll be reestablished with topsoil. We do 4 inches of topsoil, and it'll be seeded, and it'll be reestablished as grass.
So when you said I think disrupted, what does that mean exactly?
Well, right now, that area might be existing sidewalk. It might be curb. It might be part of the existing road. And if we're shifting the alignment a little bit, we will pull out that old material. So that way, like in this particular location, we're realigning the road. But right now, the road, goes way over here.
So this is a projection of the new.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So the black lines are what the road will be, and green is
Correct.
what exists.
Yep, so yellow stripe, that'll be the center line. Curb line, this will be right where the sidewalk is, where the little hand is. And so this particular location, it may be existing sidewalk or curb, and that's going to be pulled out or removed and then reestablished with, it'll be grass once it's over, or once the project is complete.
Okay. Do you mind zooming out a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
Can you explain exactly where that is? Which is
Sure.
north, south, east, or west?
So this is right where the mouse is. That's the intersection of Vineyard, or 4455, kind of running in the north-south direction. Talk is on the left, and then Tillson.
And show the old Tillson alignment.
The old alignment,
Right now.
it comes up through here.
So you're almost going to come, when you start to go down the hill, it's going to be almost straight across from the top. And where Tillson is right now, that roadway section will be grass and part of the driveway to the inn.
Tillson Avenue is only going to be one lane each way?
Yes,
There's not gonna be a left turn lane at Vineyard coming off of Tillson?
no.
Because that's a big problem
No
now.
room, no
People
room.
don't get out of the way.
I
Yeah,
know.
they don't get over and you can't go right.
And that was one of the primary reasons why we wanted a roundabout.
Absolutely. That's what we should have.
It was the preferred alternative.
Yeah.
So,
Is it gonna be a four-way stop or just a two-way stop?
it is a two-way stop.
Two-way, no four-way?
Question, is all the focus on this corner of the Tillson?
No, we go all the way down to 9W.
But most of the construction gonna be redoing the bridge and the waterway and that section?
A bulk of the project is that area there. There's a lot of old water lines in there, some sewer. There's pipes that are abandoned, some others that have to change in elevation. The whole entire culvert's gonna be replaced.
Right.
And the utilities in there. We're gonna be raising Vineyard about 1.5 feet, so the steepness of the slope coming down is less. And when you get to the bottom, it'll be kind of a flat area, not down at an angle. So we can only do so much with the short distance that was there. And that's why we had to bring Vineyard up a little bit, to make that less of a steep hill coming
So
down.
you were planning on changing or replacing gas lines, sewer lines, anything that's you're gonna uncover, you're going to, it's gonna impact homeowners with possibly no sewer, water for.
That's still to be determined, but those are very temporary changeovers for that, and that we'll have to determine, because there's a lot of unknowns under the ground there.
Right.
And that's part of the cooperation that we give you as reliable. There's a big water main that goes through there. And we have to bypass that and maintain service with you, but usually have plenty of warning when that would happen. It would be a time between, let's say, 1 and 3 p.m. on Thursday. So water will be interrupted, that type of thing. We don't have those answers yet until we open it up. So.
Can you just walk us through, because I know that the dynamics of the scheduling in sort of 2 phases, and the work going from east to west, I believe? Possibly. Can you just, I mean, I know there's some unknowns there, but can you walk us through, what as of today, what you believe that to be, and what that first bid entails?
The first base bid that was done was from 9W up to Summit.
Up to where?
Summit. Terrace.
Smith.
Smith.
Sorry, I was down.
So basically, where I have the mouse.
Smith Terrace, yes.
So,
That's the base bid right now.
yeah, so basically, right here for where the mouse is, if everyone can kind of see that.
Yeah.
So going to our right towards 9W, there's full depth reconstruction of the pavement, new sidewalks,
These are retaining walls.
curbs, retaining walls. The full depth reconstruction stops here. So basically, that's reconstruction of the pavement, meaning we pull out the existing asphalt, we put in new stone subbase, put in new asphalt on top of that, and that stops right here. So where I have this hatching, that's where we have pavement milling. So basically come in, we'll remove 1.5 inches or 2 inches of the asphalt, we'll put in a single course asphalt overlay. It'll have new pavement striping. On the the bottom side here, there's old sidewalk, it's narrow, it's not ADA compliant. That's gonna be removed, we'll put in new topsoil, new grass, that'll be reestablished. On the north side, there's gonna be a sidewalk, 5 foot wide, ADA compliant. That's gonna continue from where we started on the left all the way to an existing sidewalk, pretty much at the intersection of 9W. So right down here.
So we're moving Tillson Avenue over a little bit to the south. Okay. There are a number of homes on the north side that have short driveways. And what we didn't want was to, you pull the car in, you're getting stuff out of the back and you're in the sidewalk. Or somebody's mirror on their truck is coming by. So we're taking out the sidewalk and moving everything over to the south to allow more room on that section on that side, so we could put the sidewalk in, you still have the same essential room on the driveway, so those are some of the things that we looked at.
So, but the true decision on the east to west movement's TBD.
That's correct. Well, what happened, we don't have, we're not fully signed up for the remaining funds for the project. Okay, it's in the works, but it's not official.
Right.
So right now, we have the first part, which is this section here over to Smith, not Summit, sorry.
Smith too.
Smith Terrace, yes. That part is currently going under the contract right now. The other section will hopefully follow, and very likely will. But we don't, it's not official yet.
And then, please, anybody stop me. If you're tired of hearing me. I know we talked about, I don't want to get into specifics or individuals, but, and obviously we own the inn on the corner, so we have a vested interest in all of this excitement.
And thanks for your help with a lot of help with the communication in the community too, I appreciate that.
And but I know we talked about, and I think this is obviously going to be critical for the process, is the individual walkthroughs of the properties.
That will happen on every property.
Okay, so everybody will get a chance to walk through from the construction side, right? The lead, the contractor, understand what the implications are. Like for us, for a business, what's our access going to be to continue to operate? But anybody that, like you said, driveway, sidewalk, for the lineman, everybody's going to get their opportunity to have that walk through. And then and this is probably a simplistic question, but I assume that obviously that all is going to get marked up as well, so that, and stakes and all of that, so that people are going to have, because that's always been a difficult piece for all of us that live on the street. It's hard to visualize where exactly the sidewalk, where the alignment is. And so I think it's helpful that when we finally see stakes in the ground, and maybe that's aligned with the walkthrough, maybe it's not, but I think certainly would be extraordinarily helpful to get a visual of what the impact is, how deep the sidewalks go into my property.
Yeah,
et cetera.
maybe what we'll do, when we do that, we'll do a lot of, maybe all in one day. Or most of what we can do, we can paint the ground. And just SW in and edge of road, ER for road, and just kind of give everyone a kind of visual idea of how it's good to have that. I think the visual part of that's important. So I think that's what we'll do. Maybe put a stake, stakes in some key areas, but paint on the ground looks good sometimes too. It's only don't use water colors. So, yes.
What is the time frame from 9W to the first Smith Terrace?
That right now is,
Now time to finish that part of the project.
we expect the contractor to do it in 5 days. Right, Dave?
5 days.
Well, what we're working, we have probably another week or so of contract paperwork and bonds and things like that to finalize. And then the contractor Dave's going to give us a schedule. We'll work through the schedule and we'll have a better idea at that point. I think everybody's aware of material issues, material shortages. You hear about it every single day. It doesn't stop with this industry. And it's a lot of it. So we're going to work to get it done as smoothly and efficiently. They have bid prices that they've got to honor. So if prices keep going up, they're going to want to get it done too. So, that's another part of it, right, Dave?
Yeah, I think there was a stipulation. Was there a number of days in the contract? I believe 100,
Yeah.
120, I believe, for the first phase.
Yeah.
A little more than 5, but
A little more than 5.
a little more than 20.
Dave, may I ask you a question then? How late in the year would you work to finish the project? If you started in October for some reason, how late would you
Hoping
work?
not to.
I gotta be, October.
There's temperature limitations and
Correct.
so forth for the quality of the work. We typically don't work past November in this type of work.
Okay.
And if there's great weather, we have those, who knows what, then maybe it's longer, but generally rule of thumb. And you're not allowed to pave past the middle of October unless the contractor wants to provide a really long warranty on the work. And usually the plants aren't open and it's tough. And we at least try to get something down for the reconstruction portion. you know, it may be a binder course of pavement where the top would be done in the spring. So that, you know, we've all driven on that, we don't even know if we do, so you're doing it, so that, things like that.
When we close up for winter, if we end up closing up for a winter shutdown on any project, we ensure that it is passable for plow trucks, which means it's passable for all pedestrians and drivers throughout the winter months. And that's what we ensure prior to any winter shutdown on any project with state requirements.
Access to driveway is very important, and I think.
Yeah, somebody.
Yes, you haven't
let's-
asked yet.
Let's go back with the Tillson, on the, did I hear you right saying that the south side, they might take the lawns and leave the north side alone?
No, we're not taking any loans, we just shifted the road over about 2.5 to 3 feet to the south,
Yeah,
where
but
the
we're-
sidewalk is.
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
so you're
it's-
telling us you're gonna shorten up the sidewalks?
There
Just
won't be
the,
a sidewalk on that side anymore.
oh, gotcha.
Right, so that, we did that, originally we had looked at sidewalks on both sides,
Uh-huh,
and what it did was it pushed the sidewalk too close to the homes on the north side, so it just wasn't gonna work for safety, and I think whoever lived there would be not happy, couldn't fit a longer car in the driveway, so, we were able to we wanted to do a multi-use path, an 8-foot wide sidewalk, DOT kicked that and didn't allow us to do that, with the federal funds. They didn't want anybody to think you could skateboard on an multi-use path, so we're with the sidewalk, but it's gonna work out just fine, so.
the other question is, Smith Terrace, are you planning on to close down the, Tillson Avenue during the day to do this work and use Smith Terrace as a alternate route so they can turn around and,
I mean, we have work zone plans included with the contract. It'll sort of be up to the contractor on ultimately what they can do most efficient, and our resident engineer will approve that plan. We don't have any thought at this point to direct traffic down Smith to go through that, I guess, horseshoe.
Yes, it's very narrow.
At this point, we've never thought of that, so.
because if you do, please, think about the kids.
Yeah, that was.
Be-
Yeah. Long children have
There's-
to-
I lived there 17 years, and I started out with my 2 boys, and now there's like 15 to 20 kids just on that street.
I
Lower
mean,
than
the road is,
And it's getting summertime, they're gonna be out all the time.
I've driven that a number of times. It's somewhat narrow to begin with, and I don't think we would want to direct two-lane traffic down there. It could be larger vehicles. I don't foresee that happening.
Type or anything.
I have a question to that point. So Tillson is unfortunately used for a lot of service vehicles, a lot of speed, a lot of traffic. Like that gentleman said, there's probably, just on my side of the block, which you can see my house from here, there's about 25 kids under the age of 10. What are we doing about mitigating speed? It sounded like we're not doing a traffic light, stop signs, speed bumps, like what will be happening as part of this?
Well, the road will be, the way it's worked on one side at a time, there might be flaggers only one lane of traffic, so there'll be control going through.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that, like during the construction. I'm saying when the construction is completed, are there